Welcome to the Nate KG Podcast, a show dedicated to exploring the nuances of jump rope, where I talk with jumpers of all skill levels, backgrounds, and fitness goals. On this episode, I talk with Seth Ingram at Seth the Jumper on Instagram. Seth is not only a world champion jump roper, but he's in the top tier of talented jumpers. He's among the group of jumpers that are currently redefining what is physically possible with the jump rope. Please do yourself a favor and go check out his Instagram page if you haven't already. He has some wild stuff over there. In our chat, we discussed Seth's history with other sports, the mentality of always bettering yourself, tips on learning the Moneymaker, the mindset for performances versus competitions, the vibe of international jump rope competitions, and a lot more. All of the show notes for this episode can be found over at natekg.com. And without further ado, please enjoy this interview with Seth Ingram. Seth, welcome to the show, man.
Hey.
Dude, this is gonna be really cool. I've obviously been watching you for a while now. You are an absolutely incredible jump roper, hands down. You are definitely one of the best out there, and we have so much that we're going to get into. But I think a really solid place to begin would be where you are in the world.
So I was born in Utah, and then when I was pretty young, I moved here to Rexburg, Idaho, where I've been jumping with my team since then.
Cool. And then what age did you first pick up a jump rope, and how were you introduced to jumping?
Yeah, so when I was in kindergarten, so I think age 5 or 6, the jump rope team that I jump with right now came to my school and did a school assembly.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw it, I just thought it was awesome. And our team does a weekly clinic at the schools that you can participate in. So I just started going to those and got started from there.
That's really cool. So what is the clinic? How does that work?
So it's like we just offer it to the community for free, and anybody can come. We have like a pass-off skills list, that we start with to go through some basics. And basically, it's just an hour a week we teach. And once they've gone through the whole set of skills, each person has the option to then join the team.
That's really cool. So that's interesting. So do you guys practice at like a community facility?
So we practice at the school we do the clinic at.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then we also practice at like, other gyms throughout the week and stuff.
Gotcha. So that school, sorry, I might have missed it. Is that open to everyone in the community, or is it just open to that school?
Yeah. So that's open to anybody. So they just
Cool.
let us use it for that day once a week, and anybody from the community can come and learn. So it's a fun thing we do.
Dude, that is so cool. I was actually just chatting with someone earlier today about performances and how like jump rope for heart and like all that, and that it's such an impactful way to get people into the sport. Was there anything about can you remember the first performance at all? Like, do you know of anything that happened in there that like sparked your interest, or is it kind of like a blur at this point?
Yeah, well, I remember his name was Caleb Allred.
Nice.
And I remember him. He did a backflip with a jump rope.
Oh, sick. Yep, that'll do it.
That was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life at that point. So
that's cool. So from what age was that again?
I was 5 or 6 in kindergarten.
Okay, wow. That is, yeah, you started from like the get-go. So
yeah.
So moving from there, did you train in different sports later on?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I played all sorts of sports. I mean, my whole family is they wrestle, so I did wrestling for a lot of years.
Okay.
I played baseball, and then after I got into jump rope, then I started getting more into like the gymnastic side of it and stuff to help with that part of it.
I would imagine the wrestling really helped a lot with your strength with gymnastics.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Yeah, it's I know you've posted a few videos and I saw your wrestling mat, and like that's when like it finally clicked. I was like, oh, that's why this guy's so strong. Like he's got a huge foundation.
I'm lucky enough to have a wrestling mat in my house, so that's a good place to jump on, actually.
Yeah, for real. So you did these prerequisite skills in these clinics, and then you made it onto the team. What did it look like in the early years? Was it consistently going to practice and meeting up and learning like team routines and stuff, or how did that go?
Yeah, so when I started clinic, it really, honestly, I was not good at jump rope from the beginning. Like the first skill on that pass off list is 25 single bounce. And it took me an entire year of going to clinic to pass off that first skill.
Wow. Okay.
So like it did not start off that great, but
Uh-huh.
then like once I got that, I started to get the hang of it and stuff.
But you were also like 5 or 6, right?
Yeah, like I wasn't that coordinated back then, but like then after that, things started coming together, and like then I moved through it pretty fast. In like
Hmm.
another year, I was on the team, and then I loved it, and I just kept coming to practices and jumping with them, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's cool to hear as someone who is a very decorated athlete that you started struggling on just 25 single bounce. You know, that's very
Yeah, I
it's,
mean,
it's a cool
got to
history.
start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. What in terms of being a decorated athlete, what are some of your top accomplishments that you've earned within
Um,
the realm of competitive jump rope?
well, I mean, this last year at the 2019 World Jump Rope Championships in
Mhm.
Norway, I ended up taking the gold in male single rope freestyle, so that
Mhm.
was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that is amazing. You throw skills. Porter is your teammate, correct?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is.
you two are just like absolute animals. I was talking to I think Chris Holmes from Jump Rope Videos
Yeah.
has posted. I think he usually says, I don't know if it's like the potatoes you guys have out there. you
Yeah,
know,
people like to tease us about potatoes because of Idaho, but
what is it? As much as like it's a funny joke. Like you guys are very significantly ahead of others when it comes to the elite athletes, and you do skills that are not only very difficult, but you really are innovating on a lot of just wild things that many of us would not have thought
hmm
of. What has been we're gonna go a little non-linearly here. We'll double back in a little bit, but how do you come up with these skills? What is the process right now to do these wild skills? Is it
yeah.
I'm curious because I'm imagining there's a lot of different things that influence that, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
So Porter, he lives like in the same town as me. We're on the same team, and honestly, just like having both of us like by each other has been probably the biggest thing that like I don't know about him, but that's probably the biggest thing that's like gotten me like just going for some of these skills. It's just kind of like he gets something, and I'm like, oh wow, that was cool. I gotta try something like that. And then we're like, we definitely have gone like back and forth trying skills, and just having someone there to like keep me pushing and innovating has definitely helped. And then I don't know, we've gone a lot for like power skills. So one of the biggest things I've been trying is like with the tricks is just like, hey, what can you do into a frog? You know.
Yeah, you're
So
an
we've just been
animal with
like,
that, dude. And I see the skills you do. It's wild.
so like I don't know. I think part of the mentality is like just jump high, do something crazy, and then land in the frog.
Dude, I love it. It's the most simple and elegant. Just jump high, do what you
Yeah,
gotta do, and then
jump
land it
really high,
correctly.
do some trick, and then land in the frog. So like any trick you can land on your feet, just do that instead of, and then just land in the frog instead.
It's so
That's where
funny.
that's where some of the ideas have come from for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that because like at this point, as funny as that may sound to other people, like I mean, it is honestly very true because you've built up such an awareness with this skill, and you've built up such a high a level of ability and efficiency with so many
hmm
things that you like innately understand that as simple as it is to just jump higher and do it correctly, like it actually does help, and that is the cue that makes sense. What have you done? So let's go backwards.
Okay.
So let's go a few years into jumping. I'm imagining the first couple years were relatively standard, just showing up to practice and stuff in terms of
hmm
training.
Yeah.
When did you start to get serious about training, and
hmm
what was there a shift in your training style when you actually showed up to practice?
Yeah. So I guess probably for the first 4 years I jumped. It was pretty local, and I just jumped for not just for fun. I wanted to be the best I could at it. But like my first nationals was 2012 in Long Beach, or maybe 2013. But when I went to that and saw, it was my first big competition, and I was able to like see more of what jump rope can be at a high level. Because at that point I was younger and looking up to the crazy jumpers, And I think seeing that helped me realize that, wow, there's like this can go a long ways, and it's pretty crazy. And at that point, I just started. I don't know. I feel like since then, I worked harder to get to that level,
You saw it
and
was possible.
and do the tricks, that I was of the people I was looking up to and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you, at the beginning of that, you mentioned like you've always been, I guess, like determined to be really good and to work hard and stuff. Where do you know where that comes from? Because it sounds like you're saying even from a young age, you already knew you wanted to be really good. Is that true?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I've tried to be, my parents have given me the mentality of, do your best on everything you can.
Mm-hmm.
And doing your best isn't going to make you the best at everything, but it'll make you the best you can be at everything.
Yeah.
And that's really all you can do.
No, that's a really big distinction, and it sounds like it's really. I mean, it's it's clearly played out over the years. I mean, you're one of the best in jump rope for sure. So when you went to that nationals, and you've now your eyes are open basically, like you're like, oh, like this is all of the things, like when I know what you're saying, like when you're there with the people that you're looking up to.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it changes everything, because it's one thing to watch a video on Instagram or YouTube, but when you're standing in the same room, or in some cases right next to that person, and like I know, like the first one went to nationals, like LJ threw some kind of a back tuck, 10 feet for me. I'm like, wow, like that's different than watching that on YouTube.
Oh
and
yeah, for sure.
and like you actually get a feeling for like how powerful and amazing those skills really are. You know it conceptually, but then you're actually there. So then what happened when you left nationals and you went back, to team practice? Did you then change your workouts at all, or were you mostly just following what your coach was doing? I'm really curious, like the
Yeah.
exact details. Yeah.
So at that point, I think I started getting more into like, like, hey, I want to do like some flips with this,
Mm-hmm.
So I started learning like some gymnastics skills. And really when I started learning gymnastic skills, I think that made me more confident in going for bigger skills,
Mm-hmm.
just because a lot of the principles are the same,
Right.
or correlating between those things. And so that helped me go for some of the bigger skills. And then I was watching those older jumpers, and trying to do the things that they did. Really, that's what pushed me, is watching the older people do the crazy stuff, and I just tried to do what they were doing.
Who specifically were you watching?
So when I was younger, I watched Nick Woodard has some really old videos on his YouTube channel.
Yes. I think I know what you're
I
referring
watched,
to.
yeah, the little like 8-second videos or whatever,
Yes.
that just had these crazy tricks that were like, top notch at that time. And I would go through and I'd watch those, like, I probably watched each of those like 50 times,
Yeah.
And I was nowhere close to doing those at that point, but just like watching those and being like, wow, like that'd be really cool to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you trained, I mean, obviously you're going to gymnastics training.
Mm-hmm.
Did you practice outside of your team practices at all?
I definitely did with like gymnastics. I would go to the local gymnastics center and try skills there. And then I'd bring a rope along and try to do some stuff on the rope, and that taught me a lot of the flips there. Um, at a younger age, I don't think I did it like as much training at my house as just mostly in practice, just because practice was like structured and helped me have a direction to move.
How were your practices structured? What did those look like?
So our practices, we have like group routines that we use for shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So usually start by like going over a couple of those. Then we'll have maybe a couple like routines to work on, or like for competition, groups to work with. And then after that, we're usually given some free time where we can just try new skills, pull a mat out and go for something, just work on skills with each other. And then in the mix there somewhere, we usually do speed every practice. But
That's interesting. So there's a huge emphasis on your performance routines then.
yeah, I mean, a lot of times we just use skills that we already have and stuff, but we do spend time working on routines that we use in every performance. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So because I know on other teams and the teams that I've been on, a lot of times it's very much like routine focused for different events for competition.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you say is like the proportion of routines for your performances at schools and in the community and those types of performances versus things that are directly competition related?
Yeah, so that definitely changes throughout the course of the year with our practices.
Mm-hmm.
So like starting in the beginning of the year, we're definitely working on building new skills. We work on our performance routines a lot more and just kind of going over those types of things. And then as competition season progresses, we're definitely focusing more on getting our routines made up and nailing them down and getting ready for competition, because that's definitely more the focus in the spring and summer rather than building new skills and routines in the fall.
Gotcha. So, how much performing do you guys usually do as a team?
I'd say we do a lot. I really like performances, and our team we do lots of school assemblies. So we'll do like probably 1 or 2 days of school shows a month. And so with those, we'll do like, 3 or 4 schools, and we'll go give them a 30-minute performance and then share a good message, and
okay,
all that. So
that's really cool. And so then
we do like community events and other stuff as well, But.
Okay, that's cool. And then that usually brings people into those open sessions with the team, and then the team continues to grow. Okay, That's really cool. Let's double back for a second, because I'm curious. You mentioned wrestling. What other sports have you done, and have you competed in other sports?
Yeah, so actually with wrestling, when I was younger, I won the state championship for wrestling.
Oh, nice.
When I was younger, and I always really liked baseball. I played baseball. So those are the 2 main ones I did when I was younger.
So you are a competitor through and through then. Like that is just in you.
Yeah, I definitely got started with sports at a young age, so that kind of built that competitiveness in me.
That makes sense. And then so then you're training gymnastic skills, and you really refined that full send mindset.
Exactly.
That's what's up, man. That's really cool. When you approach speed training, what does that look like?
So I've really gotten into speed training a lot more lately.
Mm-hmm.
Like
why is that?
I really wanted to get better at it, and I've had a couple personal goals that are just a little bit out of my reach right now that I just want to get to. So one being like the 500 in 3 minute,
Mm-hmm.
I've hit 480s, like 4 or 5 times, and I just want to get that extra little bit. And so really just getting closer to that goal has made me want to just train harder to actually get there,
Have you changed the training, or have you just done more of it, or what have you adjusted to try to get closer to that goal?
I've just started adding speed training at home.
Gotcha. Okay. And so are you using music? Are you doing like sets and reps, or how's that broken down?
Yeah. So I learned this from the Korean teams. So they always do speed to music, and I found that helps me a lot. Finding music that has a consistent beat, and then jumping to the music and building that consistency, because really speed is just about consistency. Like you just want to be consistent as you're jumping and have that good form and stuff. So jumping with music has helped me keep my rhythm on, and it also pushes you to go at a faster pace. You can turn on a fast song, and then you're pushing to keep up with it throughout the time. And so jumping to music has really helped me.
So you're just picking songs that have the BPM that matches your pace, basically?
Yeah, so I've gotten some songs from the Korean team and found some of my own.
Gotcha.
That really work for it. And then I just do different BPMs depending on what I'm training and what I'm trying to do at the time. Yeah.
That's really cool. So when you're competing internationally, because I haven't done an international competition, but when you show up there, there's a lot of different jumpers. Has there been anything I guess that has surprised you, or that you could not have expected, that when you showed up you're like, oh, this is interesting to experience? I know it's a bit of a vague question. We can move past it if you want, but as someone who has not been on an international competition floor, I'm wondering what that experience is like.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's super eye-opening. Like one of my favorite probably parts of every international competition is like walking into the practice gym for the first time. Because like you walk in there and everybody's in there and they all have their own sections, and everybody's just going through their things. And it's the coolest because every group has a very unique style. and everybody's different, and it does not look the same throughout the floor. Like, it's just really cool to look over and see, people from different places doing different things, and just everybody having fun with their own style.
What was
So
one
that's
of
really
the
cool to see.
Yeah, what was one of the one or two or however many you want to bring up, honestly, of the more like
hmm
unique things on the floor that like caught your eye or caught your attention?
Um, like anytime, or like this past competition, or like,
Like any of them, yeah.
okay, so like you walk in and Japan's doing their crazy rope work with their fusion, and then you look over and you see Hot Dog USA throwing some insane double Dutch skills, maybe, and then you look over and there's Australia doing their 4-person team freestyle with perfect form.
Yeah.
So there's just a huge variety of stuff going on, and that's super cool to see everybody in the same room doing different things.
I would imagine there's still an extreme level of camaraderie with that, even though people are
Oh,
from,
for sure.
yeah. Like can you speak to like that aspect of the competition? Because I think for people that are not as aware of competitive jump rope, I think there might be, people are not aware of what it feels like with your competitors. And I think that
Yeah.
within the States, it's obviously very collaborative once you're done competing and you're not stressed out. But like internationally, can you explain what that's like?
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite part about jump rope is that, we're all competing and we're all trying to win and do our best, but also like all of us are really good friends. Like, even if we don't know each other, we're friends
Yeah.
because we jump rope, So like it's just cool to know people from all over, and to be able to go and support them and watch their events and be happy for them when they do good, and they're happy for you when you do good.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have that, level of friendship throughout the entire sport, I think is something really cool and unique about jump rope.
I think it's cool too how like I think a large amount of people, if not the large majority, really focus on like beating themselves at competition, and
hmm
then the placement kind of takes care of itself, and
hmm
you more or less are aware of where that will set you on the podium, or
Exactly.
and I'm curious, like, is that how you approach it? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that. Like, I'm always happy if I do what I feel good about. Like, when I do my best, I can feel good about that no matter where the placements go out.
Yeah.
And if I don't do my best, I'm not sad that I didn't place high. I'm sad that I didn't do as good as I know I could do.
Right. No, the last main nationals I had, I was doing a 1 minute speed, and
hmm
I was counting myself on the floor. There's, for people who don't know, there's like so many different stations. There's like, I think at the time there must have been between like, I think around 30 stations, something like
hmm
that. It was, and I remember doing a single rope speed, and I was counting myself, and at the time I was shooting for a 150, and I ended up at 168, and like I thought I had counted completely wrong, and I was like, oh no, and I was like, whatever, like I'm still gonna push, like get me. I figured in my head, if I'm 20 jumps behind where I want to be, I guess I gotta just jump faster, right?
Yeah.
And then when I got the score, I was super stoked, and then it landed me on the podium, and then I went to Grands for that, and then at Grands,
Oh, heck yeah.
yeah, I actually got the exact same score.
Oh, nice.
At Grands, which was cool. And I'm wondering if that's ever an experience like that has ever happened for you, where you've surprised yourself with a good performance, or maybe not surprised, but like you were really hoping something went well, and it really, really did.
There's definitely routines like going into competition, that routines or events, speed events too, that I've definitely felt like more prepared for others, like, so more prepared for some events than others. And it's always unique because, the routine that you're most prepared for, that you feel like, dang, like, we're definitely going to nail this one. Like, we've got this down. We've practiced it so hard. There's times where that routine can just, something will happen and that one just absolutely bombs, and you feel awful about that.
Yeah.
And then there's also times where, like, the routine that you've still worked on, but maybe you haven't, drilled as many times as the others, you can hit it good and it goes well during competition. And then you also feel really good about that because, just because something went well, and it's really good when routines go well. So
do you still get nervous when you go up on the floor to compete?
for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what, same thing with performances?
Not so much for performances, I don't think.
Interesting.
There's just
Okay.
there's a different feeling, but I definitely feel like I do better in competition
Mm-hmm.
when I'm thinking of it like not as stressed,
Yeah, like there's not something on the line,
Yeah.
basically.
Like
Yeah.
world jump rope, actually, this last one, it was a surprise for me to like make it to grands.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of came up later, and it was something that was like, it was an extra for me. And so I definitely felt like not very nervous going into it, because I was like, wow, this is something really special and I get this opportunity, so I'm just going to have fun with it and do my best. And I didn't feel very nervous, and then I ended up like doing really well. And so I definitely feel like I could do that more, just try to not be stressed about it and just do the best I can.
The mindset is huge, and the way you view
For
things
sure.
is massive. Like you're saying, like that's such an interesting story in terms of, I mean, Grand Nationals at World Jump Rope, it's a bit of a big deal.
Mhm.
And it's cool that it wasn't necessarily expected, but when you got it, it was then like icing on the cake,
Yeah, exactly.
and it's, I think if competitors were able to tap into that and view the majority of what they do as icing on the cake, I think it would alleviate a lot. When you could do a performance, I mean, obviously that you're not there to compete, but are there any
Mhm.
other differences in the way you approach that? I mean, because theoretically they're kind of the same thing, it's just the audience size is different, right? But
Mhm.
what the stakes are very different. How do you view the performance?
Well, yeah, I mean, the style's a little bit different for performance, just 'cause we're trying to do something that we're just trying to do what looks good
Mm-hmm.
or what looks impressive, rather than, competition format's just a little bit different
Right.
for routines. But like, I feel like our whole team, we go into every performance, like no matter where the performance is, like with the same mindset, and we do the same tricks and stuff. We throw our hardest tricks in competition, and we also throw the hardest tricks, at the smallest of community shows. So really, we're just trying to put on a good show wherever we're at. So
I was talking with Stuart, and I think you may have heard the piece where we were discussing how it seems that the jumpers that perform the most tend to do the best in competition. I think you and Porter, and I mean, I'm imagining many other people from your team are great examples of that, because I mean, like you just said, I didn't even know that you guys threw your hardest skills at performances. Because when I would do performances for Jump Rope for Heart and around the community and stuff, it was the way my teams would approach it is, don't throw the hardest stuff, just do what you can hit clean.
hmm
So do you, whenever you do performance, do you always make an effort to try something new or try a hard skill on purpose to refine it?
yeah, well, actually, I mean, I said we throw our hardest skills, but like honestly, I think sometimes we'll throw harder skills in performances than in competition, just because the stakes are a little bit lower. But like
Dude, you're a
some
madman.
sometimes that doesn't make our coach very happy, but it's fine.
So do you just like not like prep your coach? Who's your coach again?
Monica Foster.
Monica Foster. So do you not prep her with what you're gonna do? You're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go throw some stuff, and then all of a sudden you're throwing like death wishes all over the place.
Exactly. Well, if you tell her beforehand, she might say no.
Yeah. Oh, right. So
So
you
the
just keep it quiet. I
the
gotcha.
key is you just don't tell her what you think she might say no to, and then you just go for it.
Sweet. What
But that being said, we definitely do value our performances, and we want them to look as good as possible. So we do try to keep it clean, and we do stuff we're pretty confident in getting. But also, like, I think performances are a good time to try a new skill, because getting on the performance floor will definitely help you feel confident getting on the competition floor later.
well you have the adrenaline pumping in you. There's the excitement.
Oh
Your
yeah.
your body is physically moving differently than it would in a standard practice where there's no stakes at all. And when you have eyes on you, it changes everything. I that's so interesting that you guys are doing that. Can you walk through kind of a detailed explanation of how your performance shows go? Because as a competitor, I'm pretty aware of like what types of jump rope skills happen in performances. But for people who don't know, can you kind of walk through what a Proform show looks like and what kind
Yeah,
of skills
exactly.
you do? Yeah.
Okay, so we start out our shows by doing a little demonstration of like how you start jumping. So we'll start with like, hey, you start with a single bounce. You can add some footwork to it. Then we just kind of go through the levels of skills. So I'll be like, hey, you can add some crosses to it. You can cross under the leg, and then it's a level 2 skill. Then, you can do that cross as a triple under, and it's a level 3 skill. And then we just kind of build up from there and just show like the progression. Then we start the show. We start out with speed like every other team does. You got it. That's just how a show works.
Yeah. So you have like a double dutch in the middle of doing speed, and then a couple people on the outside of that doing speed as well.
Okay. Yeah, the typical speed layout.
Yep.
Then we just go into the show. It changes every time. We don't have a set format for every show, but we'll do some. There'll be freestyles, singles, and if people have pairs ready to go, we'll show some wheels. We'll do plenty of double dutch, big double dutch. We have some long rope group routines we do, just all sorts of stuff.
When you say big double dutch, are you talking about like 3 to 5 people on the inside?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So just more people on the inside doing some different skills that you wouldn't normally see in like a competition.
Do you guys ever do, well, actually, what are those skills that are different from competition that you guys do?
Mostly skills that like take more setup than you'd like to allow yourself in a competition, because
Gotcha.
time is everything in a routine. So just some like big flipping skills, or like just like subway power stuff, in the middle, things like that you just can't really do with a competition, that you can do some unique stuff in performances.
You guys do like a lot of toe pitches over like push-ups and turntables and stuff?
Yeah, we tried some of that stuff.
Nice. That's really cool. Oh man, it's so fun to hear how your team approaches this, and how you approach the way you use the performance, not only to inspire people but to your benefit as well when it comes to competition. What are some of the skills, because you were chatting about some of the things that your coach wouldn't necessarily want you to throw in the performance. What have some of those skills been in the past?
Well, to name one, I've never done it, but double backflip.
You threw a double backflip in a performance?
I didn't do that.
Okay.
Porter did that. But first time he did that, our coach was not very happy.
Oh my gosh.
But it was like awesome, because he did it, and that was like one of the coolest things ever.
He threw a double backflip in a performance, I'm assuming at a school assembly.
Yeah, it was at a workshop show.
Workshop, okay. Well, okay, workshop makes a little bit more sense because
Well, honestly, like any show, like sometimes you need that adrenaline to go for something like that.
Oh yeah, for double back. You tried to do I saw you posted a video of a double back skill that you were working on.
Oh yeah, I was working on AS cross double back, so crossing behind the knees while doing double back.
Was the goal to
that at a gymnastics center so far, but
was the goal to hold the AS for both rotations?
Yeah, so you hold it for both rotations and then just come out right at the end. But
so how
I'll
close
have to try that again. I've only actually gone for that once, and then our gymnastic gyms have been closed and stuff for a while. So
yeah, dude,
so hopefully I can get back there and try for that one again, because that'd be really cool.
That level of skill is ridiculous, dude. Like I can't even like the amount of send it mindset you have to want to go for that is absolutely wild. Do you, when it comes to these really difficult skills, how often do you drill those? Because I know with the routine, obviously you're doing the majority of the routine over and over and over many times to get it locked down. But with some of the more destructive skills, or some of the more difficult ones, do you rep those just as much as the other ones, or does it look different?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the trick. Because like some of them, I've tried them until I got it. And then once I got it, I was like, "Ooh, okay, enough of that."
Yeah.
Like that's not something I need to be doing all the time. But other skills, especially stuff I want to put into like competition routines that I need to have consistent, I definitely work on more often. Like I probably do not go a practice without doing a Moneymaker, just because I want to get it to the point where it's problem doing it.
Yeah, right. Just casually getting a Moneymaker on
exactly,
lock,
like,
whatever.
Awesome,
That's crazy.
It just depends on the skill, stuff I'm trying to get consistent and stuff I'm okay with doing once and being done with.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny, guys like you and Porter and Hamisi really mess up the perception of jump rope for people who are new, because I was doing a live video today and somebody asked me, can you do a Moneymaker, Kamikaze Frog. I'm like, no, I cannot, because that skill is ridiculous. Like,
You
you
just gotta
guys,
go for it, man.
you guys do it so easily that other people think like that's hard, but it's attainable. But really, it's not nearly as attainable as it seems. How many people in the world can do that now? Is it like under 10 people?
There's definitely more than 10 now.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah.
That's such a crazy skill,
It's still
man.
a pretty limited skill, but honestly, you know, with any of the skills, I mean, nobody starts off getting that skill first try.
Right.
I mean, it takes working on specific things and working on form, and, you know, really looking at yourself do it and practicing specific things to work at getting closer to that skill. And once you can get it, you can work on getting it more often and getting better at it. And it definitely takes a long time to nail it down, but it's definitely doable.
So I want to ask you two questions. And I want to ask you kind of a simple one first, and then I want to ask you about like what you're looking at when you're adjusting your form. But with the Moneymaker specifically, when you were trying it for the first time, what did that look like, and what were the errors you were making?
Yeah, so it's definitely Moneymaker. I mean, as you push, you got to keep your hips up, because if your hips do not land over your head, like when your hands hit again, you're just gonna fall down and you won't be able to whip it under.
Gotcha.
So like that's one of the biggest things. And then just like,
so when you were doing it, no, it's cool. When you were doing this, the problem then, I'm assuming, was not that the rope wasn't getting around you, it was that you were trying to remain upright. Is that the case?
exactly, yeah. Like I'd
Okay.
either get the rope around, but I didn't land upright, or I'd focus on like staying upright, but then I couldn't get the rope around because I wouldn't be able to push my arms up enough, you know. So
So
definitely trying to balance those two things out until I could get it to where I could get the skill.
and so you repped it over time to the point where you were able to find a spot where it was like, okay, cool, I'm getting enough lift, but I'm also able to keep my body upright and get the rope around.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And with Moneymakers are interesting because there's definitely different ways of doing at it. And the first one I ever got, I did like I don't know if you've seen different skills. Like there are different forms of Moneymaker.
Yeah, no,
but
yeah,
I did it. My first one, I did it with like, you know, like the run up into it, you know,
like a
you
block,
gotta like
gymnastics block.
Yeah, you gotta like run a few feet and then you kind of block off your hands, and that's how you get that lift, and that's how I was able to get the rope around. But obviously, like with jump rope, that's not the most ideal form for it, because you want to be able to just be able to just go into the frog like you would normally do a frog and then push that around. So after
like
I started
Hamisi.
getting done, exactly, like Hamisi, you can just like do the frog and just do it, you know. But so I definitely started working more towards getting them like that, so that it was more something I could do as an actual skill.
That makes sense. And so when you mentioned that you're taking video and you're looking at your form and you're tweaking it and you're refining it, I'm imagining that has played a role in the majority of the skills you've worked on in the past as well.
Yeah, like you can definitely I take videos of like all the things I'm working on, just because I like to have the videos of them. And it's definitely helpful, you know, to look at it and see where your arms are, see where you could cross bigger, you know, see where you need to get your hips up as you land, or how you took off wrong, or lots of things. Like looking at yourself jump definitely helps you work on those skills to get closer at them.
Cool. Yeah, that I was going to ask you that, exactly what you're looking at. So you're looking at your placements, your crossing placements, you're looking at your gymnastics form and stuff. That makes sense to really identify what's going on. Let's kind of look at I want to know your perception of skill levels, because as someone who I mean, in a lot of respects is helping to define the top level of skill in jump rope, I'm curious how you view kind of our blocks of skills, because I know in jump rope, we always say this is like, you know, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever skill. And that categorization in a lot of respects is it's very regional. It really just depends on where you are a lot of the time. Certain skills we definitely can stick to a more beginner level for sure, but it becomes harder and harder to classify skills the more talented you become. I'm curious kind of how you see the main categories of skill levels, especially the higher levels.
Yeah, well, that's a tricky question, because like different skill levels are very different. Like, what I'm trying to say, like,
There's different types of skills within those levels.
yeah, maybe like a level 6 multiple and a level 6 power are very different skills. And so I feel like sometimes it's hard to categorize them just because, each skill really is unique. And, a skill that might just be slightly different from another one is very different when you're actually doing it.
Right.
And so like on paper, they might be similar, but in actually doing it, they're very different. So it's kind of hard to categorize sometimes.
Mm-hmm. What skill was there a skill that kind of defined a shift in your perception of your own talent? And I know this is kind of a weirdly worded question, but for me, when I got a Sunny D for the first time, I was like, oh, backwards strength stuff, that's different, like that,
Yeah.
that we're now kind of in a new threshold, or like a backwards kamikaze push-up, right? Was there a skill or a set of skills that for you was like, oh, I've now crossed a threshold of really understanding like a new,
exactly.
new skill level? Yeah.
So I guess my main focus is power skills, so I'll go there. But like I could do a double under frog for a while, but it was like barely a double under frog because I'd like go feet straight to hands, but like whip the rope around so fast, that like I wasn't even in the air. But then like maybe not once I got it, but once I went for triple under frog, that definitely changed it, because at that point then I had to jump higher in the air. And then even though I maybe didn't land it like right off, but when I first started going for that, it made me realize that, hey, like it's okay to jump in the air and then land on your hands, And then from there, you could add the other tricks to it, and that's where a lot of my power skills have come from. But like going for that first triple under frog, I think made me more confident in starting to go for higher level power skills for sure. Being comfortable landing like that.
The triple frog is just like, it's such a different ball game. I remember the first time I did one, and I was like in my backyard. I was way younger, and I was doing double frogs, and I was like, well, these seem pretty good. I wonder if I can add a rotation. And like I went for it, and I think it took about an hour, but like at that point, like I had enough bound to make it happen, and it really changed, because like you're saying, like when you go for a triple frog, like it is a totally new ball game.
Yeah.
And then from there, things like the Death Wish are even a step up from that, and the things that you do are even beyond that. What do you have to like summon up a massive amount of courage to first attempt like a Death Wish or these kinds of skills, or are you just like in the groove hanging out with your team with Porter, and you and Porter are just going back and forth and challenging each other? How does that actually play out?
I mean, like when I try to practice and stuff, I'm definitely in a place where I feel like I don't need as much courage or hype to go for something, just because like the environment is already like that all the time at practice. So
Gotcha.
But like if I'm going for something at home, I definitely feel like I have to. It's harder to go for something when you're just like alone at home. So I definitely have to like build it up a little more and then say, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then go for it. Whereas at practice, I feel like I can just step up and go for anything,
I really do feel that I spent a huge amount, proportionally speaking, of my time jumping, typically jumping solo or jumping in the backyard, and jumping with other people has always been something that I very much treasure. And like I remember when I did a swing open triple under frog for the first time, I was with my friend Adele, and we were jumping as when I was in college, and it's a skill that I never would have attempted on my own, because a swing open triple under frog for the first time is like, it's a totally different ball game when the rope's next to you, not underneath you, and you have to change your body midair. And she was hyping me up so hard, and like it's just different when you're in that environment with your team. What is it like when you show up to practice? You said that it's already naturally pretty hyped. Is it just rolling in and everyone's just like ready to crush it? Like what is that like on Proform?
I mean, I feel like most of the time it's like that. Like
that's so awesome.
I'm pretty lucky. We have a lot of boys on our team, and
dude,
so
that is a really
it's fun
big deal.
to just get together. When we walk in, we're like, okay, let's do this, and then we go for some crazy things, and it's always fun to do that.
Man, that rocks. Is there, as the athlete, do you feel like your coach has done something that is very different than other coaches from what you understand about other teams, or do you think it's generally like it's within the general realm of what a standard jump rope team looks like?
Well, I mean, we have the best coach ever, so like
So
it's
unfair
definitely
question.
different.
Yeah.
Like nobody compares to Monica, so sorry.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
I don't know. I don't know a lot about other teams' practices and stuff, but I do know that like our team's practices are always really good, and
That's
our
cool.
coach is always very, she's always very helpful with trying to help us, get the skills we want and reach the goals we want.
It sounds like there's a really strong sense of camaraderie on your team.
Yeah, I mean, our team isn't without like normal struggles, and it's not always perfect, but
Right.
we definitely all get along and have a really good time together, so that's good.
That's really cool. That's really awesome, man. Let's kind of go down a different little tangent here, because watching you on Instagram, you post a lot of crazy things. How do you approach posting on Instagram? Is it a very just casual post when you post? Do you have a specific goal when you're creating a video to share, or how do you view that?
I mean, with my Instagram, honestly, I don't worry too much about it. I like to show stuff that I'm excited about.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I get something that I'm excited about or have a video idea that I really like or something, I'll just make that happen and then post that. So
Gotcha. Just like that, thinking of a
anything,
new
yeah,
skill and then just doing it.
yeah, anything that makes me happy to see or get, or something I was proud of, or just fun times, I'll post that.
That's cool. How long does it usually take you to get a new massive strength skill, whether that's a handstand or a flip or whatever it is? Like, how long does it usually take you to unlock something new?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on the skill, because there's lots of skills where I can go to practice, I get an idea, and then like it doesn't happen first try, but like within the span of that practice, I can make it happen and get that skill. But there's other skills where like one of my biggest ones was Moneymaker cross. So like
That's such an insane skill.
Moneymaker cross, I tried that skill for forever, and like I was so close so many times that I felt like, okay, just one more time and I'll get it this time,
Mm-hmm.
And then the end of practice would come and be like, okay, 3 more attempts. Then I'd be so close and just not get it. And
Yeah.
that went on for, weeks of like almost getting it. And that took me forever to actually finally get once. But so it definitely just depends on the skill. Sometimes it just happens quicker than others.
Yeah, it's really cool jump rope where like no matter what skill level you're at, there is always something that you can be proud of for accomplishing, but there's always something to work towards. And I think that with guys like you and Porter and Hamisi and the top of the top in the world, there's many more. I'm just the first 3 that come to mind. The top of the top in the world, I think a lot of people look at what you do, and you do so many things extraordinarily well and very efficiently and very perfectly, but there's still skills that you're working on. I think it's really cool to hear that there are still things that you are pushing for, trying to refine, trying to add to routines, trying to unlock for the first time,
There's definitely some skills that like I focus on the power stuff a lot, so I'm pretty good at those skills, but there's different sections and stuff that I'm really not that good at. Like, I don't know, not that I'm not good at, but like I'll feel proud about a different level of skill in a different category. Like, backwards multiples. I'm awful at backwards multiples. So like it's like one time I was trying it was backwards, so it was like side TS open backwards. And when I got that, I was like just as happy as getting, a much crazier power skill, just because that was hard for me. And so just getting something hard for me was just as rewarding.
Yeah, that's really cool that there are levels to all of it, and that makes a lot of sense. What was 1 or 2 of your best performances, and you can define best however you want. I in my mind, I'm thinking most exciting or unique, but what do you think was one or 2 of your best performances?
Like competition performances, or like you're talking about like show performances?
Show.
Okay. Oh goodness, I'm gonna have to think about this.
I mean, it sounds like you've done a tremendous amount.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to think through.
Yeah.
To find best, but like maybe some of my most favorite are definitely like basketball halftimes.
Yeah.
just because like
The hype
all
is so
shows all
insane.
shows are hype and stuff. Like basketball halftimes have a different level of hype,
Yeah.
and it's just fun to go out on a big floor with a big crowd and just throw some crazy stuff and have everybody cheering for you, and that's always really fun for me. So those are
Uh-huh.
definitely some of my most memorable performances have been the halftimes.
That's cool. So I'm assuming the prep for that is pretty much the same, but then when you go out there, it's just everything just changes.
Yeah, so a lot of shows we have like, like 20 or 30 minutes. Half times we usually have, 5 or 6 minutes. So it's half times are definitely different. It's more of a let's pick the best things we can and jam pack it into that 5 minutes and give them something crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's really sick. What about competitions? What have you been some of your favorite competition moments?
So really anytime we hit a routine in competition is my
Yeah.
favorite. Like nothing feels better than preparing and then going out and hitting it perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
double dutch pairs, the last couple of years we've won double edged pairs, and that has been some of the funnest routines I've ever done. Just because
Mm-hmm.
there's 4 people working together, so you can have fun with your teammates,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's also like when you nail a routine that you did yourself, like that's you. But like when you nail a routine you're doing with other people, like that's everybody nailing the routine,
Mm-hmm.
and so that almost has a different feeling because it's like wow we all did that and that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
I was talking to Emma Trumbull about this on previous podcasts, and we were chatting about how like double dutch routines hit different. Like
yeah,
when you lock it down and you've been working very hard with that team, like it is just a different level of synchronicity and excitement when you actually make it happen.
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. This has been like so much fun to go through all of this stuff. I think now is probably, well, actually, before we wrap things up, I do have one more question for you, actually. What in the future, what are you hoping to accomplish with jump rope? Because you're an extraordinarily decorated athlete. You are doing some of the hardest skills imaginable. What are you looking for in the future to accomplish?
Yeah, so starting in January, I'm going to Utah State,
Mm-hmm.
and so Utah State already has a club program going on. So
Nice.
I definitely want to get involved with that and jump with them, and then I want to keep competing for as long as I can, and also get just get as involved with the sport as I can. And when I was younger, the older jumpers were the ones I was looking up to, and
Mm-hmm.
they got me started and gave me so much because of what I've been able to do through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so really, I just want to teach other people and be that person for other people that get them into the sport and show them how awesome it is and what it can do.
Mm-hmm. That's sick. One more question before we wrap up again that popped into my head.
Hmm.
What does it take to be a world champion? I know that we've discussed so much about your mindset and we've discussed so much about the way you're approaching, you have approached all of your skills, but in your perspective, what does it take to be a world champion jump roper?
Dude, that's a hard question.
we can skip past it. I think that you've definitely discussed so much, but like
I mean, I don't know. I can try. I don't know if it'll be good, but like, you just gotta never give up because some things won't come easy, and I definitely don't get every skill first try. And some things click better than others, but like the things that don't click, you just got to keep going with them and keep practicing. And just keep doing the best you can at it, and eventually things start to come, and then you see the progress and you see the rewards that it gives you from working on it hard.
yeah. It sounds like as we've been chatting, like rather than having this mindset of like I want a world champion title, you've really approached things as I want to be the best I can be, and you're in an environment where that has really fostered
Yeah,
being
for
the
sure.
best you can be. And you've been wrestling and baseball, and you are competitive with yourself through sports, and you've built up a mass amount of strength. It sounds like the world champion piece is almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it's almost a byproduct of just the passion you bring to the table with jumping.
Yeah, I've definitely been lucky to be in an environment that has, with my teammates and my coaches and my area. It's been easy to want to grow and be better.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really helped with just being dedicated to it and keep working until you get until you get skills and until you keep progressing, and then, winning just comes at the top of that as a result from the hard work.
Right.
So.
Right. You have to put in the time. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's kind of wrap up now, and I want to ask you the last question of the podcast, which is, what is jump rope to you? I can buy you some time too. I know jump rope is very very all encompassing, so it's very hard to summarize such a massive thing into just a simple sentence or two or three. But I'm curious, just like, I'm going to kind of take a stab at something that I think might apply to you. Okay. I know that for myself and for many other jump ropers, when you go about your normal non-jump rope life, whatever that is, you are labeled as like...
It's not as good as jump rope life.
Right? you are labeled as like the jump rope guy, or that guy that jump ropes, and it gets to the point where it's literally baked into your identity.
That's for sure. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you felt that, and if that kind of plays a role in how you think jump rope, how you view jump rope is,
So I guess like jump rope is my passion. It's what I work on, it's where my friends are. It's where I meet new people, and it's what's helped me to grow into the person that I am. Like, I would not be the same without it. And so it's just something that I'm passionate about and something I love to keep being a part of.
Dude, that was a great answer. That was awesome.
Oh, thanks. It didn't sound really too bad.
No, that was really good. I mean, I think that, after discussing all of these things that you've experienced, that you've worked for, and all this stuff, like that answer, it really does help put the finishing touches on this picture of jump rope that you've painted. That, like, it is very much everything. I'm really, really interested to see and follow your journey as you now transition into, you said Utah State?
Yeah.
Yeah, as you go to Utah State, I'm really interested to see how that goes for you, and watch how you, I would imagine, grow even further in that environment with other jumpers too. So that is awesome, man.
Oh, well, thanks, man.
Definitely want to be respectful of your time, let you get back to your day. But dude, seriously, thank you for taking the time to do this. This has been...
Oh, well, thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. This has been so cool to just chit chat with one of the world's best, dude. So thank you.
Sorry, I started out rough. But,
no, you're good. You're good. It's totally fine.
It got better.
No, it got really good. It's been extremely, honestly, man, it's been really, really fun. It's been such a good flow too. So thank you again, man.
Well, thank you so much.
Hey, before you go, I just wanted to say one last thing. One of my main goals for this podcast is to share the stories, of other jumpers and provide a full picture about everything that's possible with the jump rope. The more people that hear this, the better. And it would really help me out if you sent this podcast to somebody you know, whether in real life or digitally on Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform you use. It would mean the world to me. So that's it. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, lunch, evening, whatever time it is for you right now. See you later.